Every year it happens, a loud boom outside, and suddenly, your confident, happy dog disappears. They run under the bed, hide in the bathroom, shake uncontrollably, pace through the house, or cling to you like they've never done before. Most people assume dogs are simply afraid of loud noises, but that explanation misses something important. Because if it were only about noise, why do some dogs panic before the thunder even arrives? Why do they react before the fireworks explode? And why can the fear last for hours after everything becomes quiet again? Today, we're going to explore what your dog is actually experiencing during thunderstorms and fireworks. And by the end of this video, you may never look at their fear the same way again. Your dog hears the storm before you do. Most people think the storm begins when they hear thunder. For your dog, it often begins much earlier. Long before the first thunderclap, long before the first flash of lightning, long before you realize anything is coming. Your dog may already know, and that changes everything. Dogs experience the world through senses that are far more sensitive than ours. Their hearing can detect distant sounds long before human ears notice them. Low-frequency vibrations can travel through the air and even through the ground. What sounds like silence to you may already sound like a warning signal to your dog. Have you ever noticed your dog becoming restless before a storm? Maybe they suddenly stop sleeping. Maybe they start pacing. Maybe they leave their favorite spot and begin following you around the house. Many owners assume these behaviors appear after the storm begins. But watch carefully. Sometimes they start 20 minutes earlier, sometimes even longer. And that's because your dog isn't reacting to the thunder. They're reacting to the possibility of thunder. Think about how different that feels. You hear an explosion. Your dog spends half an hour waiting for one. The anticipation becomes part of the fear, and anticipation is often more stressful than the event itself. The next time a storm approaches, pay attention to your dog before the weather changes. You may discover they knew long before you did. And if you've ever seen your dog predict a storm before the weather forecast did, let me know in the comments. A surprising number of owners report exactly the same thing. Why unpredictable sounds feel so terrifying? Here's something fascinating about dog psychology. Dogs are remarkably good at adapting to predictable things. A vacuum cleaner, a coffee machine, the sound of your car pulling into the driveway. At first, those sounds may seem strange, but eventually your dog learns the pattern. The sound happens, nothing bad follows, life continues normally, and the fear fades. Thunderstorms don't work that way. Neither do fireworks. The problem isn't simply that they're loud. The problem is that they're unpredictable. One boom is quiet, the next is deafening. One arrives immediately, the next arrives 30 seconds later. Your dog never knows what is coming. Imagine sitting alone in a room. Every few moments an explosion occurs. No warning, no schedule, no way to predict when the next one will happen. You would struggle to relax too. This uncertainty creates a state psychologists sometimes call hypervigilance. Constant monitoring, constant scanning, constant preparation. And that's exactly what many dogs do. They stop resting. They watch every movement. They react to every sound. They become trapped in a cycle of waiting for the next threat. Not because they're weak, not because they're dramatic, because their brain is trying to protect them. The storm becomes less about sound and more about uncertainty. And uncertainty can be incredibly stressful. Be honest. Does your dog seem more afraid of thunderstorms or fireworks? I'd love to hear which one affects your dog most. Why some dogs hide and others don't. One of the most interesting things about fearful dogs is that they don't all react the same way. Some dogs disappear. They crawl under beds, hide in closets. squeeze behind furniture, search for the smallest space they can find. Other dogs do the exact opposite. They stay close to their owners, follow them from room to room, refuse to be alone. Why the difference? Because dogs have different coping strategies. For some dogs, safety means shelter. A confined space feels protected. The walls create a barrier between them and the outside world. Even if the storm is still happening, the hiding place feels safer. Other dogs look for something different. Connection. They don't want a place. They want a person. And that person is usually you. This is where many owners misunderstand what they're seeing. A dog hiding isn't rejecting you. A dog following you isn't necessarily being needy. Both dogs are searching for the same thing. Security. They're simply looking for it in different ways. Think about your own dog. When frightened, do they run toward a hiding spot, or do they run toward you? That answer often tells you a lot about how your dog handles stress in general. And once you understand their strategy, you begin understanding the dog much more deeply. The warning signs most owners miss. Most owners only notice fear once it becomes obvious. The shaking, the panting, the trembling, the frantic behavior. But by that point, the stress has usually been building for a long time. The early signs are much quieter. A sudden yawn, a quick lip lick, a dog that can't settle down, a dog that keeps changing positions, a dog that normally loves treats, suddenly refusing food. These behaviors often appear before the panic starts, and they're easy to miss because they don't look dramatic. Imagine your dog repeatedly walking from room to room, not resting, not playing, just wandering. Many owners assume the dog is bored. Sometimes they're actually anxious. Another common sign is increased attachment. A dog that suddenly follows you everywhere during a storm may already be feeling overwhelmed. They're looking for information, looking for reassurance, looking for clues that everything is okay. The challenge is that most owners don't connect these subtle signals with fear. They only recognize the emotion once the dog is shaking. But by then, the warning signs have already been speaking for quite some time. Learning to see those signs early is one of the biggest improvements any dog owner can make, because understanding starts long before panic appears. The test. Here's a simple test. The next time a storm is approaching, don't wait for the thunder. Start observing your dog before the weather arrives. Watch carefully, not for obvious fear, for small changes. Does your dog suddenly leave their favorite resting spot? Do they begin pacing through the house?
Hey, bud,
Do they start following you from room to room? Do they stop playing? Do they seem unable to settle? Most owners focus on the moment the thunder hits. But that's usually not where the story begins. The story often begins much earlier. And that's what makes this test so revealing. Because if your dog starts changing behavior before the first thunderclap,
let's go watch a movie.
The fear isn't only about the noise. It's about anticipation. Your dog is preparing for something they believe is coming.
I understand now.
Think about that for a moment. Many dogs spend more time worrying about the storm than actually experiencing it. The waiting, the uncertainty, the inability to predict what happens next. Those things can create stress long before the first boom. And here's another thing to watch. What does your dog do when they become worried? Do they search for a hiding place? Do they stay near windows? Do they come looking for you? Do they seem calmer once they find their chosen safe spot? The answer tells you something important. Not just that your dog is afraid, but how your dog handles fear. Some dogs seek shelter. Some dogs seek connection. Some dogs seek both. Understanding which category your dog falls into is often the first step toward helping them. So the next time a storm approaches, don't just watch the weather. Watch your dog. You may discover that they've been telling you exactly how they feel all along. What actually helps? Now let's talk about what actually helps. Because once you understand what your dog is feeling, the goal isn't to eliminate the fear overnight. The goal is to help them feel safer while it's happening. And the first thing that surprises many owners is this. Don't force confidence.
Hey there,
If your
sleepyhead.
dog runs under the bed, allow
Doing
it.
okay in here?
If they choose a closet, allow it. If they hide behind furniture, allow it. Many owners assume hiding is a problem. But for many dogs, hiding is the solution they've chosen. It's their way of creating safety when the outside world suddenly feels unpredictable. The second thing that helps is creating a calmer environment. Close the curtains, close the windows, turn on a fan, play gentle background music or white noise. These things won't make the storm disappear, but they can reduce the sudden intensity of the experience. And sometimes small reductions make a big difference. Third, pay attention to your own emotions. Dogs constantly read us. If you become nervous every time your dog becomes nervous, they notice. If you rush around the house acting as though something terrible is happening, they notice that too. Your dog often looks to you for information, and calm behavior provides information. It tells
It's okay, I'm
them,
right here.
we're okay,
Just
this is
breathe,
manageable,
buddy.
you're safe,
storm is almost
and finally,
over.
don't be
You're safe.
afraid to simply stay with them. One of the biggest myths in dog ownership is that comforting a frightened dog somehow creates more fear. For most dogs, that's not how emotional security works.
You're
not
okay, boy.
rewarding the thunderstorm.
I'm right here
You're
with
providing reassurance during a stressful moment. And for many dogs, your presence becomes their safe place. Not because you remove the storm, but because you help them face it. The storm still happens. The fireworks still explode. But they no
It's okay,
longer
buddy.
feel completely
I'm right
alone
here.
while experiencing it.
Just rest.
And sometimes
Everything will be fine.
that's exactly what they need. The next time your dog hides during fireworks or presses against your legs during a storm, remember, they're not being dramatic. They're not trying to get attention.